Hello, my name is Chris Mullen. I'm a senior at Smoky Valley, and um, today I'm going to be talking about my project, which was not in Illustrator, but rather in Adobe, or not even Adobe. It was in ProCreate, which is available on the iPad. Um, it's a $10 app. Um, you need an iPad Pro as well as an Apple Pencil to really get the most out of it. Um, but it's also really hard to do a voice recording on an iPad and still have it, be good. So what I'm planning on doing is talking about my project, and then showing you the time lapse, which is a really cool feature in Procreate, which allows you to see the entire life, essentially, of the artboard, from the first time you make a stroke to your most recent drawing, which it automatically records. It's obviously a setting you can change inside the app, but it is really useful, and I recommend having it on if you know what Procreate is. So, without further ado, most of my project was spent on the goal was to learn Procreate, but also figure out how I could fit it into my workflow as a sketching tool instead of having to use paper, use using Illustrator itself to really figure out what I wanted. So you can see my artboard back here. So this is actually what I brought in from Procreate. You can see it looks a lot. It really looks like a piece of paper. It looks like I just grabbed a really dark pen, maybe a Sharpie or something, and went around and sketched what I wanted to. But in reality, what this is just my Apple Pencil with, I believe this was a technical pencil. It's just what I prefer to draw with. It gives you really dark, thick lines, so you don't have to worry about um, in here you can sort of see you don't have to worry about this really pencil hand drawn look, because I don't know, I just prefer really clean sketches, so there's a lot less room for you know guessing in Illustrator, which is, it depends, it's personal preference sort of thing. If you can find a way to work in Illustrator while improvising and figuring out what it is you actually want to do with the piece, then it's that's you. But for me, I really need something to work with right off the bat. So this is what I got. I actually did start this on paper. You can see up here. I believe whenever I had the idea, I just didn't have my iPad available, which can happen. But the important thing is that you can if I start on paper, I can very easily just take a picture of what I want. I think this is the iPad in the actual picture, so you can see. You just take the picture, and then you have it there, so you can just put it in the iPad, and then you can sketch over it, and you end up with this. And in terms of actually learning the app, it's not necessarily too much about your technical skills with the iPad. It's very much so a drawing app. So the main thing, if anybody were to take Procreate and be like, okay, can I do this without having any background in art or drawing or, anything like that? I would say probably no. Like you definitely need to have done something with drawing, or at least have the confidence to like just realize that whatever you make is not like Leonardo da Vinci level art, because this is definitely not that. It's definitely a rough sketch that is going to go into Illustrator. Some people can use Procreate and not even touch Illustrator and just like go with Procreate, which is really not, it wasn't my goal with this project to get to that point. The goal was to be familiar with Procreate so that I can give myself the tools to keep practicing and practicing over a few years, especially this summer, to really be able to do whatever I wanted with it. So this is what I did. Um, so I got to here and I started. I actually started with a version that looked, oh gosh, it looked very similar to this. Very long beard, very um I don't necessarily mind the eye on this side, but at the same time it looks very much so or very intimidating whenever you can't even see the other eye, which I also enjoyed very much. Also, I had a lot of really great help on this from a guy named Evan Hebert, which I will put a link to his dribble in the description. But he is a great graphic designer, and we I met him at Nafi's Sandwich Pub in McPherson, which was great. And so I can really attribute a lot of the art direction to him, because that really set me on the right path, which is great. It's you can watch as many tutorials as you want and as many you know things like that as you want, but unless you have some real like just help, honestly, like one-on-one, just bringing it to somebody and being like, okay, so what do you think is wrong with this and what do you think can be improved, and just getting some different eyes on it that really know what they're talking about, are that help is it just can't be overstated. So I started with something like I said, like very similar to this. Honestly, I would say just the only difference is that it was excuse me, sorry, don't look at the timestamp, it's terrible. But uh it looked just similar to this. So the eye was there, like like the slash was right there. The eye on the right side of the face was just as cartoonish and bold. I also came up with this idea on the right, like in the middle, to have just a straight up left facing face. And the goal whenever I actually started this was to have a front facing face, a completely left facing face, and then a 3/4 face. But it quickly became obvious that the 3/4 face, one, looked the best, two, was the most challenging but also the most rewarding, and the other two, just as concepts, weren't as strong. Which happens. Sometimes your first one is your best one, and sometimes it isn't. And it just so happens that most of the projects that I've worked on thus far, the first one has been the best. So yeah, there's definitely some stuff that it's down here. Sweet. Okay, I forgot about this. But yeah, it started out with just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, getting the beard where I wanted, and eventually it turned into this, which was here. I'll just I don't really care. Well, just, all right. Take this. This is where I got with the face, and this is as a right here, it's great. Like, I could not be happier with what this is right here. But out here, this is not at all what I was thinking whenever I started. Like, there's, this is all right in here, but the face is great. The helmet's Where the helmet joins is also like The beard is just too long. It looks like his jaw is just maybe 4 inches out from the bottom of his nose. Like, it's 4 inches further out than his nose, which is not how a face works. And then his lips are also just like, what the heck, man? So I just took it, broke it down, and started over, essentially, with this, and just kept working it, kept moving, kept seeing what could happen. Went through, added just as much, detail as I could, and then just kept working it, and just kept seeing like what could I do. Tried to add an ear, tried to add hair, and eventually just found myself at like a point where it was down here, and I just did not know like what the heck I was gonna do. And this was in Illustrator, and then I went and I met with Evan, and the coolest thing is, all I had to do was I just took a screenshot. I'm not gonna do it here, but how do I? Yeah, there we go. I took a screenshot and just airdropped it to him. And the cool thing about ProCreate is that it imports everything on a pixel basis. So everything that I have made here down to like that little point right there in ProCreate, if you zoom in, that is what it is. It's just it'll be pixelated just because the image gets rasterized, but it's a very fine tool, like very if I wanted to, I could get in here and just like take out like a little bit of a curve right in there, like where's the eraser tool? There we go. Like, just take that and just do that, except much more fine. And so essentially that's what I did. Like, I went in and I filled everything in with black, and then I went through and I like removed stuff and made like a beard, and made some shadows, highlights, everything like that, and just kept working with it. And like, I didn't do that necessarily to start with. I got like Evan just took it and was like, he actually removed the horns and removed sort of the top of the helmet, so it made it look like a beanie. And what I said it looked like, it was like a hipster, which I thought was actually just hilarious. So you might see this thing. It might be a Viking. It might be a hipster. It might be crazy coffee house guy. Excuse me. I just thought it was a great way to use the tool to really be a collaborative, way to work on an art piece, because it like you can you can sink so much time into something on Illustrator for whatever reason. Like you think you've got a good idea, you run with it, you create 50 different artboards, 50 different versions of the same thing like I have here. And until you really just take your idea and break it down in a program like Procreate, it just changes your whole way of thinking about a project and your whole way of thinking about a piece like this. And especially with something so detailed and so this is supposed to be a sports logo, so the details are going to be bigger, and they're not going to be it's not going to be as fine. Like it's not like a Van Gogh painting where you're going in and making sure everything's like, I don't know how he painted, but it's not like you're going in and just making sure that everything's perfect. There's some definitely room for error. I think there's a lot of implied line throughout this whole entire thing. The lips right here are all implied. The entire right side of the face, the ear is implied to be in here somewhere. The shadow across the helmet, especially across the horns, is implied to show where the light is and everything like that. And so, that's essentially what this project was. It wasn't a let's learn Illustrator. It wasn't a let's learn Procreate. Yes, I learned a lot along the way, but really what it was how can I take a project from the very base form, from sketch 1 in Procreate, to maybe 6 or 7 sketches throughout the way, building on it from the artboards in Illustrator all the way up to a final artboard, which is most likely is probably going to be this one, or another one that I have yet to make, with detail and color, and eventually adding like a badge and putting text and stuff on top of it. That'll be something I can do in the summer because I ran out of time because of baseball. Anyways, that is essentially what my project was throughout this 4-week system. Originally, I was going to start making Photoshop photo manipulations, but honestly, I think I got more out of this project, especially with what I'm going into as a graphic design student next semester. In roughly 7 days, that semester will only be 4 months away, which is pretty great. Really excited about it. So that was my project reflection over Procreate. And now, without further ado, there are going to be about 6 minutes, I don't know, you'll see, of films from Procreate that are just the time lapses of the sketches and the whole entire thought process and system of probably 3 or 4 different actual files. So yeah, enjoy these.
Walking outside labyrinthian over cracks along under the trees. I know this town grounded in a compass, cardinal landing in the dogwood. I keep going over it over and over. My steps iterate my shame. How come every outcome's such a come down? Lately afternoon with the shades drawn down. Kept saying I just wanted to see it, saying what's wrong with that needle, shaking outlines in a compass. Every outcome's such a come down. I knew it when I saw it, so I did just what I wanted. So I go through with it. I knew had to saw your boyfriend at the Port Authority, sort of fucked up place. Well, so I averted my stride on a quick one. Just coming back from going over your place, I feel like we could forget about it. I feel like I could mellow out. I don't feel undone in a big way. There's nothing really bad to be upset about. When I thought I was getting better, I woke up on the ground. An appointment or disappointment, a setback gonna come down. As if I needed a reminder. Oh, I do only what I wanna. So I go through with this. Walking out in the nighttime, springtime.